it's Lena. So today I was supposed to have my arts and crafts class on Zoom, but Zoom wasn't working, so I figured that I would share this video. It was Miss Rebecca's idea actually for me to share this video with you guys, and I thought it was a great idea, and I'm super excited about our project that we're working on today. So we are using watercolor right now. We used them last week, and we're using them again this week for the arts and crafts activity. And so last week we made these really cute, I have them over here, these really cute little flowers with coffee filters and pipe cleaners. But this week I just used normal watercolor paper and pastels, which are these things. Like, they're kind of like fancy crayons, but a little softer than crayons. And then also I used salt, just regular, like kosher salt, like you would have in your kitchen. So I made this cool, like abstract sort of pattern using all those things that I just mentioned. And you can see that the salt gives it this kind of cool texture in the painting. And I waited until mine was completely dry, and so the salt is dry too now, and I can just flake it off. And I wanted to show you guys what it would look like after I did that. So I basically did my oil pastels first, and I just made lines randomly using the purple one, and then I went in with watercolor and filled them in. And then when the paint was still a little bit wet, I went back and I sprinkled some of the salt on there. And now that it's dry, like I said, I can flake it off. So I just wanted to show you guys. So you just kind of brush it off with your finger, like that. And yeah, and then you can see it leaves like a cool kind of little dotted pattern. And I'm just going to keep doing this. And I'm also going to put in this video me making another one. So I'm going to show you the steps and talk a little bit more about how pastels interact with watercolor and how salt interacts with it. And then I'll show you guys my second finished product. But I just wanted to show you this one first to show you kind of what the salt does and how the pastels kind of work as a nice border for different colors if you want to use a bunch of different colors. So, okay, most of it's off. So, you can see, especially on this one looks really cool. It gives it just like a really interesting texture. So, pretty happy with that. Looks cool. Alright, so now I'm going to show you a different one that I'll do from the very beginning. Alright, so as you can see, I have my camera set up so that you guys can kind of just see my workspace. So I have my salt, I have paper and a paper towel underneath to not make a mess. I have my water cup with my brush, and I have another brush in here if I want to use a smaller one. I have my watercolor and I have my pastels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of draw a nice little scene. So this one I did was more abstract, but the one that I'm going to do now, I'm thinking I'm going to do kind of like a beach scene, I guess. So I'm going to draw it out with my pastels first, and then I will start painting. And so the cool thing about oil pastels, in the name it says that there is oil in them, and that means that when you put oil down on the paper and then you have the water from the watercolor, then the oil and the water don't want to mix together, and that's just something that happens in nature and in when you're cooking and in science and all that stuff. Oil and water just don't really mix together. So when I draw my scene using the oil pastels and then paint around it, the oil pastels pastels will stay really clear because the watercolor won't mix in with it. So it makes really sharp details and really nice outlines for your painting. Okay, so I went ahead and did my drawing. It's not the most, intense or like super detailed and like difficult drawing. I just kind of wanted to do like a cute, easier beach scene that isn't super detailed because I want the watercolor to really make it pretty and like flowy looking. But as you can see, I added some water on the beach, some ocean, some sand kind of, and some shells, and then some coconuts on a tree, and then a little sun. So it's super simple, and I'm just going to go back in with watercolor and fill stuff in. And while the watercolor part is still kind of damp, not all the way dry, then I'm going to put a little bit of salt on the water and the sand parts to make it look like kind of textured and foamy. And then I'll show you guys what it looks like after I do that. And I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm going to mix some colors around. Don't forget to dunk your brush in the water really well if you're going to change colors, or you can use a different brush so that it doesn't get all mixed around in here, because what you want to do is mix the paints on the paper, right? So yeah, just make sure that you don't make a big mess in here, because then the colors will get messed up. But other than that, go crazy with colors, do as much as you want. I will show you what it looks like after I add my paint. Okay, so I went ahead and painted some, and I put the salt on the water already. I don't know if you can see from the angle, but yeah. And then I here, I'll bring it closer. I actually smudged the pastel on the sun part with my finger. And you can totally do that too. It's up to you. You can keep the lines really clean, or you can smudge them out. I just wanted to give the sky a more diffused, kind of like blended look. So I rubbed the tops right here, the little rays, and then I rubbed along the border of the sun itself. And then for the sky, I kind of just mixed I started with yellow, then I kind of did the orangey color, and I went into like red and pink and purple down here. I blended it pretty well I went back over it with like a wet brush with no color on it to make it nice and blended. And you can see that even though it got a little muddled around here, you can still see the shape of the sun really well because of the oil and water not combining, like I was saying before. And as for this part, it's pretty wet still, so I'm not going to take the salt off yet. But I thought that I would, on camera, show you guys how I put the salt on. So I'm just going to quickly paint the beach part with my yellow. And just sort of make sure that the paint is nice and damp once I'm ready to put the salt on there. So, and also I added a crab down here. Thought that would be for detail. Another tip that I have is actually to blow on your drawing to get the little extra shavings of oil pastel off, because those can kind of go into the paint part, make it look a little messy. But if you don't care, that's chill too. But that's just a tip I have if you want it to be neater. You can see, you can see some of the crumbs coming off the crab. But it's all good. So I'm just filling in the rest with the yellow here. Okay, and it's cool. You can see the shells and the crab really well still because of that oil water thing. Looks awesome. Okay, so now that I know that the whole part is still to add my salt. I'm not going to add it to the parts that have the shells because I don't want those to look different. Okay, so I'm carefully just kind of going around the shells. Okay, that's good. Alright, so I will be back with the finished product, and this is what it looks like right now. And after I flake the salt off, it'll look even cooler. So I'm really proud of how I blended the sky, and I like that I decided to like sort of rub the pastel and make it more diffused. I always like to give myself a couple compliments on a piece of art after I do it, even if it didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted, but I'm pretty happy with how this looks. So yeah, I'll show you guys the finished product and then we'll close out the video. Alright, so I let this dry overnight because it was taking a really long time to dry, but it turned out really awesome. I am really happy with how the water looks. I'll like kind of zoom in. So that's from the salt. It gave it that sort of like, I don't know even how to explain it, but it looks like textured almost. And I think it looks kind of like ocean water, so I love that. I put some on the sand. Oh, there's some still there. But, and that turned out pretty cool too, but you can really see it in the ocean, so I'm happy about that. And yeah, there's my painting. So thanks for watching, and now that Zoom is working again, I will see people who are in my arts and crafts class next week. All right, thanks guys. Bye.